On item 1, conference with labor negotiators, there is no reportable action. On item 2, general counsel performance evaluation, we have recessed this portion of closed session until the end of our regular meeting, and we'll be going back into closed session to conclude item 2 of general counsel performance evaluation. And with that, Board Secretary.
This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item not on the agenda regarding district business. State law prohibits the district from taking any action on any item not on the agenda unless authorized under section 54954.2 sub B of the government code, and your matter may be referred to the general manager. An individual may also address the board on any agenda item at the time the matter is discussed and prior to board consideration or action. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Your time will start when you approach the podium, and you'll be given a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by the board will not extend your time. Questions may be referred to the general manager to be answered at a later time after the meeting. In order to allow for a smooth and orderly meeting, and allow each speaker the ability to address the board, disruptions from the audience will not be tolerated, and you can be asked to leave. We appreciate your cooperation in this democratic process.
Okay, at this time, we'll open the floor to public comments. Anybody wishing to address the board, please come to the podium here.
Yes, Mr. President, on non-agenda items.
Non-agenda items. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, I have a problem, an issue with my neighbor since March of 2017 regarding the water in the alley. I have pictures that the water from her sprinklers is not sprinklers, hose. And I've been coming here more than 3 times to the water district. And they keep telling me that's not your business. Well, it is my business because it's all over the alley in front of my garage. And the concrete is getting damaged. So I need help. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get her name after the meeting, so we'll have staff go out there and check it out.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, at this time we'll move on to minutes. M1 and M2 approved November 2018 regular board minutes and approved December 11, 2018 special board minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Director Glennon, seconded by Director Stewart. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consent calendar, CC1 approved check voucher register dated 11/6/18 to 12/10/18.
So moved.
Second. We only have to vote on it once.
Motion was made by Director Glennon, seconded by Director Williford. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, new business, adopt resolution number 2018-19 declaring those certain properties being held by the district to be surplus. Presenter Ronald Smith, General Manager.
Yes, Mr. President. So the district has several properties that are listed in the exhibit there that have either we've acquired by a gift, by a quick claim, or by purchase. And they've been purchased or acquired for different purposes. Some of them have been for parks, some of them just, get some free property kind of thing. One of them was the community center on Diamond Street. Another one was just a single family lot in West Park. And then some of them were purchased to put infrastructure on, like water tanks for wells. The ones with the water tanks and the wells that are listed in Exhibit A, the water tanks are not going to be necessary there. It was sort of in preparation if we had to go out on the arsenic consolidation for lands of promise. They are not in the arsenic consolidation anymore, and neither is William Fisher, so we don't need that property. And the two for the wells, they did test wells, and it wasn't going to produce the water, and it was dry. So the first step is to declare all these properties surplus and give me direction to start getting them appraised, coming back to you. Ultimately, if any of these properties are going to sell, once we go through the process, then it comes back to you, whether it's a land deal with the school board or with the county. So the first step after you declare it surplus here is that we go get it appraised, and then I'll bring it back to you and say, hey, these are what they're appraised on. Do you want to sell them? And if so, then we have to offer them to a government agency first. For three of the purposes would be for school facilities, for parks and rec, or for low-income and medium housing. So this is the first step that we take, and the money that we get, if the property was purchased with water funds, that money will go back into the water fund. If the money was purchased by parks funds, which I don't think they were, anyway, then that money would go back onto the loan, the interfund loan that we were paying. And if not, all the money for the properties would go into our general fund that's just newly created, because it's all discretionary money, and in the future you can decide to do with those funds however you want. So I'll entertain any questions.
I have one question. These will all be handled individually, right?
Correct. Correct.
There could be somebody who buys all of them, but
It could. As I said, I won't go into the real estate dealings, but we have the community building and some other stuff that we were talking about how we can handle that. But that was, the real estate stuff goes closed session. Next time I can bring it up, and after I have the appraisals, I can say, hey, these are the appraisals. Which properties would you like me to proceed on to sell?
Sir, I'm going to ask a question here.
Sure thing.
If you were going to bring this resolution, you have numbers attached to it, so what do those numbers represent? A few of them have numbers on it. Well, a couple of them have numbers. Well, anyway, my question is...
Okay, well, let me get the resolution, then I'll look at the... You're talking about the Exhibit A?
Your staff report, the report that you completed.
Okay, the staff report?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is, you want us to vote on a resolution, you talk about the properties, and you said the money could go back, but we don't have any information about what the property is worth. So you're saying you want us to give you direction, we need a resolution for you to go tell me what the property is worth?
Absolutely, yeah. According to the administrative code and also... Okay, I'm sorry.
So we vote on the resolution, tell you to go look into it, then you look into it, then you come back and you ask for direction what to do with it.
Correct. So
That's the resolution.
Okay.
No, that's what I'm asking the question. So
It's not a yes. It's not a yes or no question of how you're asking it. So according to our administrative code and also to the state law, so the first thing we have to do is declare it surplus property, and that's also within our administrative code. Then I can go forward and I can get appraisals on the properties. Once I have the appraisals, we can go into closed session, discuss what the appraisals were, talk about what properties would you like to sell, what properties wouldn't you like to sell at those prices, and then give me the direction to proceed.
Wow.
So this resolution is the first step into actually getting the appraisals.
would it have been easier if we would have been in a closed session beforehand?
No, because okay, you can't. This is not an example.
No, hold on.
Okay.
About the properties in general, because she asked me to vote on something now the first time I've seen it this week. And I don't mind getting things to vote on, but it's just like I'm going to give you vote on a resolution for you here to start on something that we could have gotten a summary on beforehand.
That was the staff report. And so when you asked me for the list of the
No,
properties,
but this was prepared for us. Was this you prepared to bring this to us? This was done before this week.
this was all done and given to you on Thursday.
I know, but I'm trying to
Yes.
say, when did this notion come up?
We've been talking about it in closed session, or on one particular deal that we wanted to do in closed session, and we've been talking when I briefed the board, the previous board, and said,
That's the point I'm trying to make.
would you like to move forward on this?
That's the point I'm
Right.
trying to make. You got 3 brand new board members up here.
Correct.
And a courtesy to us to at least give us an insight into which direction we're trying to head.
I believe when I briefed you, I gave you
Sir,
an insight on some of those.
Question,
Yes.
I understand that. What
Yes.
I'm trying to say, did the other 2 board members get the same briefing? We don't know. I'm just
I-
saying, with the resolution, I know you want to go forward, but I'm saying, with all these properties here, is there an expectation that people don't want to start calling you up about these properties now?
No.
I don't know.
No, there's not.
So I just think it would have been better maybe if y'all could have got a chance in closed session and talked about the direction we're going to try to go with this before trying to get a resolution to vote on.
I do not, okay, go ahead.
The only appropriate topics for closed session with regard to real property are price and terms of payment, not whether to sell. Whether
I
to
understand,
sell,
but he's
okay.
one about the closed session. All I'm trying to say, now hear you on that. First time we saw this was last week. The dynamics of all this here, I understand the properties here. I'm just trying to say being kind of nice, and you guys spoke briefly about it. But with the properties on here, this could be a significant amount of something we generate.
Correct, and so the reason why I'm suggesting doing this now like this, because once you declare it surplus, now I can go get appraisals, and then we can sit down and talk about, these are the properties, this is what they're appraised at, and then have the discussion that you'd like to have. Right now, this is the list of properties, and I think the staff report is pretty clear of how they were acquired, where they were given to us, and their locations and everything. That's about all we have on these properties. There's nothing else to say. Once we get the appraisal, we can go into closed session and talk about price point and talk about the properties.
I see, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I can only see 1, 2, 3 properties that I might want to consider right now. Because I have a pipe dream that we will eventually need some of that property for parks. It's a pipe dream. It's probably going to be after my lifetime, but it's not costing us any money to have it sitting there. And if we have to go back out and buy property after we've sold it, it's going to cost us more. So
It's the board's pleasure. If you want to pass this resolution and scratch off certain properties, you can do that too. If you want to table it for another day, you can do that too. It's
Ron, how many
yes.
meetings did you have with the previous board on these properties? You said you had several meetings.
It was during briefings, and then also we had one topic in closed session one time about going forward with one possible land deal on this.
Okay, for one, I am not in favor of just selling off assets unless we have a real good reason for it. I mean, like you said, we never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and we've always got the option to sell a piece of property. But I would certainly like to see this tabled just to give us some time to really look into this and get myself and Director Webb and Director Stewart up to speed to where we understand this just as well as Russ and Byron understand it, because they've been on this, involved in this for quite some time. I want to come to the same understanding of this issue that they are.
Sure. That's reasonable.
And I would like to see this.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
That the discussion of this should be in closed session of each one of the properties and what we decide to, let's say we decide to do 4 of them. Shouldn't that be done in closed session?
It cannot. It's not one of the exemptions. On real estate, you can only talk about price and terms. Now, I won't say which ones are on here. There are 2 properties that we can go into closed session about next time because there has been a slight offer on those, and we can talk about those. And we've had appraisals on those also in the past. So I have an idea. So we can go on those 2. The rest of them, I'll just brief all of you guys, and you guys decide what properties you want to be appraised.
But if we want them to be appraised, it has to be done in open session.
You have, in order to have them appraised, according to the admin code and everything, you have to declare all these properties surplus. Then we go get them appraised.
Or any of those properties.
Any of those properties, right? I can tell you that the 2 we can put in closed session have already had appraisals on those. Pretty recent, about 1.5 years ago. So we can talk about those 2 properties, and there has been an offer with those 2 properties involved. We talked about it one time in closed session, but we can have another closed session, fill the other board members in. I just thought it would be easier if we had everything appraised, and then we could have that conversation about, is this the prices that you want?
So I have a question.
Sure.
We own the property.
Absolutely.
If you own your property, you mean you just can't go out and get an independent appraisal on your own property?
You're a government agency.
I know,
And
the
so,
question is,
no, you can't.
okay, we cannot because.
You have to go,
Hold on, hold on. You need a resolution to appraise your property, that's what I'm asking.
you need a resolution to declare them surplus
No,
property.
no,
or-
not for surplus, forget surplus, just for property in general.
I'd have to pull up the administration
Okay,
code. I believe the
here's what I need-
administration.
Okay, here's what I need you to do for me.
Okay.
If that's the way we have to look at it, because I want to make sure we get it right.
Right.
You find out the administrative code that tells us how we have to do it, because if you're saying, so I'll understand that if you declare surplus, in order to get it appraised. you have to
Absolutely.
declare- But we just want to know the value of our building.
You have to,
That's what I'm saying. So instead of us trying to figure out what's not, you can bring it back to the board, because I'm going to support what the president said about tabling this issue here.
oh no, that's fine.
Because what I'm kind of confused now, I don't want to confuse us anymore.
No, that's fine.
If it's our property,
Correct. I'll have to look into that. I see what you're saying. That makes a logical sense. Can we just have this building appraised? Now, if you're gonna go through and according to, property that's not being used, this property is not surplus. This is actually a property that you're using. So property that you're not using,
by
In the
respect
end-
to my board member,
Yes.
he does have a vision. There's a park in this community named after his name.
and that's in the future,
So
correct?
I'd like to at least give the full consideration about how to take that forward. And then, because we may go over here and look at the numbers and they're so rock bottom that it's not even worth the headaches. We don't know.
Right, and so for surplus property that we're not using, not that something that is like we might use it in the future, but something that's surplus not being used, in order to get it appraised, it seems like in the administration code, the board has to declare it surplus, then you go out for an appraisal, and then there's a whole bunch of other steps
But
that
we're
we
not
actually
saying
sell.
it's calling it surplus, we're calling it Roseman Community Service District property, period.
You could play with the words like that but it's not being used right now. That would be surplus, things that aren't being
Okay,
used.
so question for you.
Sure.
That corner lot.
That's
sur-
surplus.
Okay, surplus. But do we have it on here?
No, because I've had, conversations with a lot of board members that's saying that that's a very, very important one, and you can ask Byron, that's a commercial piece of
I
property,
know,
that might be
so what I'm
worth a
trying
lot
to
of money.
say, he just expressed an interest that some of this could be the same.
Absolutely, and
So
you
that's what
brought-
I'm
and you-
saying.
and you
So let's look at that.
Check it off the list.
Okay.
Check it off the list.
All right.
But the only way to do that is for you guys to get it in front of you, and you can check off the list and make the list the way you want. I can't just go to each one of you and say, hey, check one off the list and tell you, because that would be a serial meeting. So, so I can, you know what, well, why don't we do this then? Why don't we brief everybody, come back with just the list, and say, well, what are you interested in, what are you aren't interested in? And then put together the resolution, give you the administration code, and say, what direction you want to
Like the
go.
president said, let's just table the whole thing until we get it a little bit better.
No, yeah, absolutely, not today, no,
Yeah,
table
of
it.
course, and then we go back and look at it again.
Absolutely, and then you guys got a public meeting, say, hey, these are the ones that we'd like to keep, these are the ones we'd like to maybe make surplus, and give me direction to come back with that
Perfect.
particular
I can live with
resolution.
that one. Thank you, sir.
Can I get a motion to table item MB1?
I'd like to table item MB1, sir.
I'll second it.
Second. Motion made by Director Webb, seconded by Director Williford. Any further discussion? All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is tabled. Okay, new business 2, discussion regarding board meeting dates and times.
May I ask a question on that item?
Yes, ma'am.
On surplus property, just listening to what was just said, and I heard Mr. Russell saying that he has an interest in that property for parks. Then the people in the city speak through voting on parks, saying that we didn't want to be in the business of parks. Did we vote on that?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And maybe 10 years from now, the demographic will change and they'll vote that they want parks.
But for the time being,
For the
we
time
just
being,
voted
no.
on it, saying that the city did, saying that the people in Rosamond voted that they did not want to be in the business of parks. Now, I know that you have a special interest because of namesake and whatever
No, ma'am,
else.
that has nothing to do with it.
Okay, well, I just know that
Well,
the
I
people
believe
of
it.
Rosamond voted and said that we wanted out of the business of parks.
I've lived in this town since 1959 and saw that any recreational stuff for the kids was done by the community somehow, not the county. And you're right, man. The vote went down like 77% against.
Okay,
But 20 years from now, it might be different.
that's right.
I probably won't be around, and you may be, but I probably won't. And neither will Ron. But,
Just a question.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, new business 2, discussion regarding board meeting dates and times.
Yes, as we put on the agenda, you have a new board, you might want a different day that works out for the board, whatever's for the board. As I've said before, staff would keep it the same for the preference of staff, not me, but other staff members and Brad, and everybody has their schedule set. But any pleasure of the board, whatever day of the week you want it, whatever time, we will make it happen. I will be at anyone. It doesn't matter to me whatsoever personally.
Right?
I make a proposal that we move to the first and third Wednesday. Closed session to begin at 5:30, the regular meeting to begin at 6. And if the closed session half hour isn't sufficient, then we would pick up after the regular meeting, just like we're going to do tonight.
And so you got first and third Wednesday.
First and third Wednesday, 5:30 for closed session, 6
and then
o'clock.
6 o'clock, the regular meeting. Okay. And do we have any other?
I have a question.
Yes.
We could have it on Saturdays, but no. Lizette, question. Lizette, thought. Last time, didn't we lose some of the news people coming because Tuesday was a bad day for them? Didn't something come up about that when they changed from Wednesday to Tuesday? Didn't we lose like AB and maybe Desert News, or do you guys remember that because of the bad schedule?
I think they've adjusted now.
Oh, they have, okay.
Yeah.
I recall that they did have a concern originally, but then they staffed it and they had people here.
Okay, good. Okay,
They made
thank you.
adjustments.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other proposed meeting times or any changes? Okay, this is a discussion only, because this would take a
Resolution, correct. So you just give me direction as the president to come back with a resolution. I would suggest we do it the first meeting in January at the regular scheduled time to take effect in February.
Okay.
Mr. President, question on that.
Yes.
They
Okay.
brought up about the impact on the staff.
Yes.
Could we, when we come back with that, find out what that impact is on the staff? Is it just that it's inconvenient for them, or is that, does it create a hardship?
I'll find out. I think it's scheduling, like we have Brad, who's, a long-term schedule, for Tuesday nights, and then, that's just, and like I said, for me, I have no problem with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying, let's
But
figure out.
I will try to get to you. I'll talk to some of the staff members and say, I think it's something that's workable,
Okay.
but at first it was suggested that it would be good to change the Wednesdays for the convenience of staff, and staff saying it's not our convenience. If it's convenience of the board,
Okay.
then we're all for it,
All right.
right? It's for the board.
I have one question on this,
Sure.
and that is, having the meetings on Wednesday, that Mondays can be pretty hectic, and putting out a lot of fires and a lot of activity going on, that having that extra day of Tuesday to get prepared for the board meeting, rather than trying to have to do it coming in off of a weekend and dealing with all the Monday stuff that almost invariably goes on everywhere on Monday. To give them Monday, and then they've got Tuesday to kind of clean things up and get things out or whatever, to do more preparation to get prepared. That's what I was thinking, that it would help the staff out in that regards.
Right, and that sounds logical, but the work is done by that Friday before. We're prepared that, because we have to get out the agenda, so we have to have the staff reports, we have to have all the stuff we post on the website and everything. So by Friday, we're done. We're ready to go. But because of the Brown Act, we post it on Friday, and it takes so
I
many.
understand it doesn't affect the agenda, but it does affect the fact that on Mondays, things happen over the weekends. I've sat on this board many years where we've come into a board meeting and we said, hey, we had something happen since the agenda was posted, and they had to scramble and get things done. And in instances like that, I think that having that extra day just makes it a little less hectic for staff. I mean, that's my feeling on it.
A point of order, Mr. President. If we're going with the regular schedule for January, I would note that the first Tuesday in January is the 1st of January, which is a holiday.
Right.
Okay.
So
Just
we'll have
wanted
to
make
do,
sure.
we'll bring you the resolution for the first meeting in January, which will be the second Thursday, or the third Thursday of the month.
Third Tuesday.
Third Tuesday of the month. I'm already going into Thursday. You told me to give me an extra day, so I was giving you an extra one.
Extra day,
Extra
not extra 2 days.
So we'll bring it to you at that meeting to start February.
February.
Correct.
Okay.
And the resolution will take effect at that time.
All right, that sounds good.
I got a question, and I know this goes a little bit into the next business, but I'm not discussing the next business. First and third Wednesday is what you're proposing. I know you talked the last meeting regarding attending Southern Kern Unified School District's meetings, which are also on Wednesdays. Are they the second and fourth Wednesday, or are they the first and third?
First and third.
When's school board meetings?
First and third.
So,
So we take presidential meetings, so we
We
got
could go second and fourth, not something.
We can go second and fourth Wednesday.
First and third.
I did some
There's
research
second.
before I came, and I'm like, I want to make sure if we're suggesting that we go to these meetings as well, or have a representative of us supporting that, we need to not schedule our meeting on top of their meeting.
Their meeting's at
Will you
7.
request a
Yeah,
second
that's
and fourth
fine. Yeah, I'm
Wednesday?
fine, doesn't make a difference to me.
And then we'd be back on the old schedule that we were on for the last 25 years.
the second and the
Second and fourth Wednesday.
Okay.
Go with the different
I'll
times.
amend it to that.
Their meeting's at 7, just to let you know.
7 o'clock? Okay.
So that'll work out good. So we'll do it you want it the second and third, or the first and, the second and fourth?
Second and fourth.
Second and fourth. Okay, and that'll work out fine for us also, because the January 15th will be the meeting that you pass that resolution, and then the next meeting would be the 12th. So we have more than enough time to get everything done for you for the February meeting.
I'm running out of paper.
Okay, so I think we're all set on that. And then we can move on to new business 3, approve Board of Directors conference and meeting list.
Yeah, so we brought the list back, and I think staff has found some more information for you, try to put it as much as we could. And it's up to you and on what you guys want to do on that, what meetings you want to go to, and who's going to go what, so you're all insured.
Mr. President, I've put in, I'm applying for Monterey in May and Anaheim in September. And what I'm hoping is I'll be healed up.
Okay. And that's the CSDA conference and then the Monterey Spring Conference and Exhibition. What is the difference between the Aqua Spring and the Aqua Fall conferences?
I really can't remember. I stopped going to them mostly because I feel personally I don't get as much out of it. It's to me it's vendor driven. So the vendors are trying to sell stuff. So a lot of the seminars and stuff are. I like the CSDA. It's a great learning experience. I know one is like a bigger vendor conference than the other one, but I'm not really sure about the two differences. Do you remember at all? No. I mean, you could hold that off, and we could try to research and find out more about what's the difference between the two conferences. Oh, here, let me see. It says, okay, for the spring conference and exhibition, it says Aqua Conference of the premier destination. Okay, that's all they have. It's just the spring conference and exhibition. Let's see. Program offerings include statewide issues and forums, town hall discussions. They usually have that at every one. So I don't know.
I think there's a material difference between them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Do you need us to, in open session, give the conference that we're going to, or are we going to give them to you that later?
No, you have to vote on it, because you have to vote on it. That way you guys have the insurance
Are we
coverage.
voting to do who? To go to the conferences, or which ones we're going to?
To who's going to go to what conference.
Okay.
So if it's going to be Rick to that one or Greg to that one, you have to say which. That way you're covered by the insurance.
Okay, so, Mr. President, can I tell you ones I'd like to be considered for?
Sure.
All the above. Okay. Pretty good, huh? Okay, okay, so I'd like to be considered for the Spring 29 Aqua, the Innovators Conference, the Water Innovation Conference, the Special District Leadership Academy Conference, the CSDA. Could I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? I noticed the ones we have on here, as far as these conferences, the AB Outlook, do they stop putting that on?
You're talking about the business conference?
Yes.
No, they still put it
The
on.
reason I'm asking, we have, you know, the, which one, the State of Current or whatever, which one was that? And that's, maybe I'll wait and address it down here at the bottom, because she had it down here at the bottom.
Okay.
That's new business number 6. But anyway, going back to those, so it'd be the CSDA conference, the special district, the academy, the water innovation, and the spring aqua.
Director Webb, if you want to address the Outlook conference and have it be included, have someone designated to attend on behalf of the district, it would be appropriate to do it under NB3
Yeah,
rather than NB6, which is NB3 is what we're on right now.
Okay, so.
So now would be the appropriate
Okay, so
time.
what I'm asking, I think we get, because of proximity, we get a little bit more out of the AV Outlook, because that kind of impacts us closer to home versus the current. So I don't know if we have time, I can just make a separate motion, the Outlook for consideration.
Okay.
As a potential conference for us to attend.
Okay.
Great. For this evening, all we need to do for that or any other thing we want to attend is be sure we put it on the agenda before it happens.
Absolutely. Like I
We can
said,
add things at any time we want, so we don't necessarily have to do it tonight.
absolutely. And so what I said before is that this is an opportunity for you guys to work things out. If you want to table it again and talk to each individual and sort of get, hey, send me your list and sort of go through it and then have another meeting. And if you can't decide on all of them, like Byron said, which we have done in the past couple of years, if there's a conference that comes up where you think, you know what, I really want to go to Aqua, or hey, I can't go, Byron has to go, you just put it on the agenda and you vote for it. So that way you're insured. You can do it on the fly.
Early enough to do it.
As long as you do it before you take off for the conference.
Okay, so, but we can go ahead and approve these conferences tonight, but then we can get the individual directors that are gonna go to them, we can vote on it at a meeting before the conference, correct?
My understanding, you don't have to approve these conferences. It's not up for approval. They were only to approve who's going to go, so you can go to all these conferences. It's not a matter of approving whether the district attends or not.
How about if we do this?
Okay.
How about if we take a vote to authorize any of the board members that want to go to any of these conferences, that they can go, and then they can notify Lizette by saying, these are the ones I want to go to, and then
Absolutely.
that way she's got the list, and that will save a lot of time of having to get everybody on here.
That's it. The only caveat for that is that if you all attend all of them over the next year, Brad and I are going to come to you for a mid-year budget adjustment. That's the only issue. Other than that, if you're perfectly right, Greg.
And I will
You
caution
approve-
you not to violate the Brown Act while you're there.
That's right. So if you approve all of them, you guys are all covered under the insurance no matter who goes. So
Yeah,
that works.
That would work fine, but I think like you're saying, Lizette needs to, if I say I want to go to that, Lizette, well, there's already 2 directors going to that,
Right.
so there's really no reason for you. She wouldn't say it to me, but there's really no reason.
And it wouldn't stop for 3 of you from going
You
in.
get that eyeball.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about it is, and I want all the directors to understand, as the attorney pointed out about the Brown Act, if all 5 of us are at a conference, we can all have dinner together, we can all congregate together, we can go to the receptions together. We just can't discuss district business, period.
Well said.
I have a question related to that. Who has to pay if that happens?
The president.
No.
So,
I think
okay,
your proposal is really good. It solves it, but we need to keep a watch on it.
and just keep in mind that the first year with the new board members, there's gonna be, I'm gonna wanna go to several of these because I haven't been to any of these in several years, and there's I know a lot has changed, and I want to get caught up on things that have happened. And also, Ron, Byron brought up to me that there's the water reuse conferences aren't on here, and I think those are very important to go to, and to, if we can get those information included
Sure.
on those, that would be great, because that's, you know, I love going to those. There's a lot of great information there, and I would encourage every director to at least go to one, and, you know, to get educated on recycled water and the laws that are taking place, especially with the State Water Resource Board and everything else in regards to recycled water. Okay, so do I have a motion to go ahead and approve the conferences?
Are you asking for a motion to approve the conferences, adding the Outlook conference and the water reuse conferences?
Correct.
Motion to accept that, motion to accept it with the water reuse and all the conference items.
Yes.
And authorize all board members to attend to the extent they want to?
Yes.
Is that your motion?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Director Webb, seconded by Director Glennon. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion is, carries 5-0.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a budget for the meetings that you guys attend, or is it that you can attend just unlimited? Because when you go to these meetings, am I correct that you
Ma'am,
get paid?
You know, we're not catching you on the tape recorder. If you go to the microphone so we can hear you. Thank you, ma'am.
Do we have a budget? Oh, my name is Never Lewis. And I live on Silver Ridge Court, been up there for 26 years. Do we have a budget as to the meetings that we actually attend? Do, say, 2 go and come back and educate the other one? Do all 5 go? And I'm just concerned about the budget so that our water bill, you know, when stuff go up, then that means our water bill increases, and I'm just trying to find out.
You want me to answer that, Mr.? Yes. Yes. What we do is, with most budget items, we go historically what's been spent. And sometimes there's been board members or newer board members and stuff that have to go to more conferences, and so we're able to pay for it. And then on this year's budget, on the 18-19 budget, we use historical data to sort of say this is the average of what happens, and we try to stay within there. But it can be adjusted on the fly. A budget is like a roadmap of learning. But we have put money in the not for all 5 to go, and they've said that not all 5 are going to go, but this just takes care of the insurance purposes easily, and so then they'll decide and send 2 or 3, and we budgeted for that.
Just trying to see so that our water bill, maybe some people might not be concerned about it, but I know the board works for the people of Rosamond, and their concern should be keeping our bills down. The more they spend,
All right, now as far as the meetings go, I think we pretty much have a list. I would like to be able to attend the adjudication water master meetings and the RMAC meetings. And so we need another director for RMAC, and another director for Southern Virginia Unified School District, and another one for adjudication water master.
I'd like to be considered for the adjudication.
And we have Glennon and Stewart for AVAC, and then Glennon and Williford for the JPA Water Bank. That covers all of it on this list here.
And Greg, so you know that when it comes to the water master, when you say adjudication, Rick, that's the water master. we've had board members at 2 different meetings. So the water master meets, but then, like I'm on the advisory committee to the water master, and that meets once a month usually too, and that's ran by Dennis Lamoureux, who's the GM of Palmdale, and it incorporates landowners, small pumpers, public agencies, and we sort of hash out what's going to be on the agenda beforehand. Under the adjudication, everything has to go through advisory committee first. And so like Ed McKay's been going to the water master meeting and the advisory committee meeting, so we got 2 meetings there that you need to attend.
Yes. Yeah, I will be at those 2 meetings. Okay, who else wants to be on the adjudication water master?
Me, sir.
Mr. Webb? And who wants to join Mr. Webb on Southern Creek Unified School District?
Do we need to have 2 directors
We
going?
don't need to have 2.
I have a slight interest, but I don't want to obligate to it because I'm probably the only director that still has kids in school.
Okay. And then how about RMAC? Anybody else want to serve on that? And the reason the RMAC is that we have, whoever goes to the RMAC will go to the Roseman Chamber of Commerce because they meet on the same night in the same building, just an hour apart. Chamber meets at 6 o'clock, the RMAC meets at 7. And so but the RMAC on their agenda, always has had on their agenda a report from the Roseman Community Service District, and unfortunately there's very seldom anybody there from RCSD to give a report to the community and to the representatives of the Board of Supervisors to what's going on here. And I think it's very important that that message gets out there on a monthly basis so people not only coming to this board meeting, but the people going to the RMAC board meeting and can hear what's going on here, and plus we can report back what's going on in the community and what people are talking about and stuff like this to help us do our job better as well. Okay, so I think we have the meetings pretty much set at this point.
Okay. And that doesn't take a vote, you just appointed who's going, Lizette took the notes.
Okay, new business 4, establishment of ad hoc committees. Okay, the ad hoc committees is what I proposed was the Water and Sewer Committee, the Water Acquisition Committee, the Water Reclamation Committee, Water Banking Committee, Grants Committee, and Emergency Preparedness Committee. I had a conversation with Ron this week, and he brought up the fact that these are ad hoc, so there's a sunset clause on each of these committees, and they have to have a specific purpose that they meet for. So these are the descriptions I came up with. So I'll start with the Water and Sewer Committee. This committee will be tasked with looking at infrastructure needs, SSMP and SSO programs, preventative and predictive maintenance programs, and asset management. Water Acquisition Committee. This committee will be tasked setting up a program to acquire water from multiple sources, explore options to obtain water rights for long-term needs, and develop a plan to finance and purchase additional water. Water Reclamation Committee. This committee will be tasked with developing a plan to create an infrastructure to deliver recycled water, to look into using recycled water, to alleviate demand on our limited potable water supply, educate the public on the benefits of using recycled water, to develop a plan to utilize our existing wastewater treatment plants for its intended use. Water Banking Committee. This committee will be tasked with working with the JPA and to develop a plan to increase the participation by the RCSD in the JPA. Also to develop a plan to implement the maximum amount of water available to the water bank and develop a financing plan to supply water to the water bank. Grants Committee. This committee will be tasked with searching for grants to help with the financing of all district projects. Emergency Preparedness Committee. This committee will be tasked with developing an earthquake emergency response program, participating in the annual The Great California Shakeout, looking at equipment needs and resources to be prepared for any and all emergencies. Those are the ad hoc committees. The ones that I would like to be on would be the water and sewer, water reclamation, and emergency preparedness. And I'm asking for 2 board members to be on each committee.
I'd like to be on the disaster preparedness, or whatever you call that one.
I'd like the SSO, the first one you were reading off.
Water and sewer?
And the water acquisition, right?
I won't speak for Russ, but the water banking committee would be one that would be good for us.
Yeah, I'll stick with that with you.
Okay, so water banking is Byron and Russ. Okay, and we have Rick for water acquisition, so we need another one for that, and we don't have any. Need one more for water
I'll
reclamation.
do water reclamation.
I'd be on water acquisition, Greg.
Water acquisition, okay. And grants committee, we don't have any volunteers for that one yet.
I'll do grants.
Okay. And do we get a second director for that one?
Can I come back to you on that one? That's why I'll take it,
Yeah, we can come back to that one. Okay,
I mean, not tonight.
right.
Okay.
Okay, at this time was that, for the ad hoc committees, we have, for water and sewer, Greg Wood, Ben Stewart. Water acquisition, we have, Rick Webb, Byron Glennon. Water reclamation, we have Greg Wood and, Rick Webb. Water banking, we have Byron Glennon, Russ Williford. Grants, right now, we have Ben Stewart. And emergency preparedness, we have Greg Wood and Rick Webb.
Greg, one of the things the Attorney General said that, that you don't necessarily have to set a date sunset on it, but they're supposed to be short-term. One of the suggestions the AG said was, you say like a 6 months, come back with a report in 6 months kind of thing. I think the majority of them you could do now and say, hey, come back with, do this report, come back with this in 8 months, something like that. The emergency preparedness, I talked to Mr. Webb about this, that we're going to be putting that, hiring a consultant for that starting in July 1st. And so that might be one that you don't start yet. You can say starts in the next fiscal year when we have the consultant and give it, 7, 8 months, 9 months, because that one's going to take a little bit longer. To
But is it really necessary to hire a consultant for that right now without having a committee? I have years of experience in setting up emergency preparedness working with the county.
You want to watch having board members write stuff and do stuff because you might get into a 1090 violation.
No, we're not going to be writing anything up. What we're going to be doing is discussing ideas, and staff is going to implement direction from the board.
If that's your direction, we don't really have any staff member that is an expert at writing preparedness manuals. We have somebody that comes in. We're supposed to rewrite one next year in the year in 1920 in that one, and we have a safety officer that comes in. Isn't it Jeff that also works on that? Or we have people that come in that are professionals that actually put that together. And so, yeah, your suggestions, everything are really important. But I think it does take a consultant that actually knows how to write those things. Just as if you put anything else together, sometimes they're just not, I'm not an expert at writing, emergency preparedness.
I bet you John is, huh, John, aren't you? Say so. Say so, Mr. President.
So that's just my suggestion, but if you want to start the committee now, that's fine.
You overlooked making the public aware they could be part of that hawk. You just mentioned
I'm
board and
sorry.
staff, so let's let them know they can be a part of some of
Yes,
those
these ad hoc committees that I stated, these are open to the public. Any members of the public wishes to sit in with us. The first ad hoc committee I was on was as a member of the public, searching for different alternative sewage treatment plans back in the early 90s. And we spent about 1.5 years looking at all types of facilities and brought back the recommendations to the board as to which plant that they should build, and it ended up being a Title 22 tertiary treatment plant.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Are you seeking to have these be agendized per the Brown Act for these ad hoc committees? If they are, then it is fine to have the board take action to appoint them. If you are not intending for them to be Brown Act agendized, then you may make the appointment yourself as the
And they're
president.
not going to be Brown Act agenda.
Then it would be appropriate for you to make the appointments without action of the full board. If the board takes action, then they would be subject to the Brown Act.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is no vote on new business for, it's simply establishing the committees. Now,
And Mr. Wood, the other thing you don't want to do that also triggers the Brown Act is you cannot set regular meetings. If you have regularly scheduled meetings, it becomes a Brown Act also.
right.
That's,
So the meetings will be set on this when we actually have something to talk about and to go over. And
Sounds good.
to make progress.
What about talking to our tenants here in the building on the emergency preparedness?
yeah, this is when, in talking, had a long conversation with Mr. Webb today about this, and the district should not take the lead on creating a regional one. We need to create our own, but we need to be in partners with the fire department, the next door, the sheriff's department, and find out one of them is probably going to be taking the lead. And then we want to make sure that ours fits like a glove with them. And so, yes, that would be part of that discussion, absolutely.
And I know for a fact that the fire department will actually come in and give lectures on hazmat response and getting people trained on incident commander, technician, first responders, and getting them certified in that. And there's a lot of things, but we'll have a lot to discuss and a lot to move forward on. And at some point, we may need to bring in consultants to put the finishing touches on stuff, but I don't think that consultants needs to be the first thing we start with.
No, not at all. And just to, we have 4 guys get their hazmat, right?
3, and I was going to report that.
3, okay.
Director
Well,
reports.
you'll like the next report when we get to Brock's report. We have some information on that hazmat stuff for you.
Okay, great. Okay, now, new business 5, assignment of board of directors to standing committees. Now, we have standing committees based upon Administrative Handbook Code 4000 Series 4060. So these committees are already established, Allison. And Parks and Recreation Committee, Policy Committee, Personnel Committee, Finance Committee, Government Relations Committee, and Engineering Committee. And what I did is I put in here for the standing committees was Policy Committee shall be concerned with proposed ordinances, resolutions, and/or district policies, except those pertaining specifically to personnel. The Personnel Committee shall be concerned with the functions, activities, operations, compensation, and welfare of district staff. Finance Committee shall be concerned with the financial management of the district, including the preparation of an annual budget and major expenditures. Government Relations Committee shall be concerned with assuring that information regarding the affairs of the district is adequately and appropriately communicated to its constituents and public at large. Engineering Committee shall be concerned with reviewing and planning proposed projects to the district. Park and Recreation Committee, all the language that I read here comes right out of the Administrative Handbook and the existing district policy. Parks and Recreation Committee, I had to ad lib on this, and I'm going to read what I wrote. Due to the fact that ordinance number 2018-2 approved on July 3rd, 2018, divesting the RCSD of recreation power that was given to the RCSD by the voters in 1998, this district can no longer spend public money on any park and recreation activities for the community of Roseman. I do not want to close the door on parks for our community, and the fact that we still have a standing committee in our administrative policies. I have a way that we can keep the door open for parks and recreation in the future for our community. By having 2 board members volunteer their time and salaried staff members participate, this way we can continue to explore possible avenues to bring parks and recreation to Roseman in the future, without using any RCSD funds. And I would be one of the first board members to volunteer my time to be on that committee, to look into 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road to hopefully bring parks back to this community and expand that way, but be able to do it without expending any money from the RCSD.
I can do that with you, Greg.
And because these are established committees, just check with legal counsel. The board president can appoint board members to these standing committees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to be on the engineering committee. And I'm going to let the other directors pick the committees that they want to be on. You know, and then we have, Rick, you said you wanted to be on finance?
Yes, sir.
I'll take policy and personnel.
Government relations.
This is a 1 year.
Yes, 1 year.
And the policy grade.
Yeah, I got you, and then Rick. Russ, do you want to be on any committees? Any standing committees?
Yeah, finance.
Okay.
Mr. Brockerbrand just about got me educated.
We'll get you this.
Okay, and Byron, you haven't
Saw that look, huh?
stated anyone.
Put me anywhere you want.
Okay, I'm going to go on the personnel committee with Ben. I'm going to put Byron on government relations and engineering. Those are the last two left. So right now for the standing committee's policy, we have Ben Stewart and Rick Webb. Personnel committee, we have Ben Stewart and Greg Wood. Finance committee, we have Russ and Rick. Government relations, Rick and Byron. Engineering, Greg and Byron. And then on the Parks Recreation Committee, volunteering their time is Greg and Rick.
That's the president Byron breakfast for us on this, right? Just checking.
Just can't do it in Roseland.
Okay, so the committees are assigned. And new business 6, authorize the board of directors and staff to attend the annual State of the County dinner on January 30th, 2019.
Yes, so you need to authorize the board members to go to that. Was that on the, do we add that to, was that on the list?
It was always
It
separate.
was.
We separated it, so, yeah. There you go.
So move.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Director Glenn, seconded by Director Williford. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And was that, when do they have to have their noticing which directors are going?
Prior to January 23rd.
Okay, so if you could please get your, let Lizette know before the 23rd of January. Okay, director reports, comments, and future agenda items. And we'll start with Director Webb.
First of all, good evening, everyone. I don't know if we can do it, but I spoke with Ron earlier about this. Maybe if we could just invite the people from the MAC and the people from the school district or whatever, just have them come here and get ourselves introduced to one another and to kind of tell us what's going on. Each one of those boards has new people elected. And I think one of the things we've gotten away, Roseland's a small community when we all know one another. And we've become real good about being adversarial. Why, I don't know. But I think what made a lot of people come to this community is the uniqueness of this community. So I'd like if you could maybe invite them over, if they accept it, fine. But I think another thing we should look at also moving long term is that we have a lot of good things going on in this community we don't even know about. Maybe you, sir, can invite some of the news people to lunch and sit down with them and, see what, tell them what's going on with us, because everyone doesn't read what we have. And we're going to allow to get things, maybe look at different ways of sharing that information. But I would like to give them an open invitation to come up here and just the new people. I see is Washington still here? Yeah, folks, if you don't know Greg Washington, he's a new board member of the MAC there. And get some of these people so we know, because the thing that a lot of people don't understand, we all run for office and you all take pot shots running for office. And you get to the office and you forget about the promise you made to get into office. So let's just get here, and I would challenge all of us as a community, stop being mad at each other and realize, you know what, when shit happens, you want to hope someone's there to help you, and not the person you made mad. So let's invite them here, everybody to sit down, what, even have to put up $50, get coffee and donuts for everyone. Just get something, not donuts.
Right.
I'm just saying, get them here and talk with them, and so these folks here, they hear a name, put a name to the face.
I think what we do, we could discuss it with the other agencies, because we bring everybody together like that to talk about Rosemont. It has to be agendized because it's a public meeting, so we can actually do that. I know different cities and stuff get together with other agencies and they have joint public meetings that are basically just a coffee talk and,
Well, and it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be up here.
No, we can all be down there
in the front. Because I think that's another thing too, you get behind this here, and then all of a sudden you get that blockage going. But I'd like to see that, Mr. President.
Yeah, I've been involved with several agencies. They had another agency just make a little round table around.
And maybe they have questions that it's not a good night for them to go to their meeting, and they can hit everybody at one time.
Absolutely.
The direction they're all headed.
So we'll look at that. I'll reach out to those different agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Director Wilbur?
Not at this time, I don't have anything.
Director Stewart?
Not this time. I'm pleased to see the number of people here and just remember the reason for the season.
I would like to, touch on what Director Webb said, in that, I have attended a lot of meetings and I've talked to elected members, new members, old members, and everybody's expressed a desire that there are 3 governing agencies in this community: Southern Kern Unified School District, the RMAC, and the RCSD. In that we're all members of this community, and the more that we talk and share ideas and work together, the better we're going to make this community for everybody here. Last school board meeting I was at, I heard a budget report where they were lamenting about their water and how they had to cut costs, and I thought, gee, it would have been great to have an RCSD board member here listening to that, to where maybe they could have got their board or their management with our management here and discussed ideas on how to reduce costs, give them some ideas on how to do conservation. There's things like when you're listening to what they're saying, you can come up with ideas and bring back, hey, this is what the school district's going through right now. How can we help as an agency to help them through this problem? And the same token, if they come to our meetings, like the RMAC, we never had anybody here except once in a blue moon from RCSD. And Southern Kern Unified School District never had anybody here. John Joyce from the Roseman News always gave the school district report because he was at the meeting and he could tell the community what was discussed, their milestones, things they accomplished. So we were learning about what was going on with the school district, but we weren't learning about it from one of the trustees from the school district. And that's what I'm hoping that we can change, is to get everybody working together, because we all live in this community together. The more we work together, the better it's going to be for all of us. And I want to wish everyone here a Merry Christmas as well. General Counsel update.
Yes, I wanted to offer the opportunity for an introduction to or refresher course on the Brown Act, Public Records Act, and the duties and responsibilities of public officials to any board member who is interested, and also to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. General Manager update.
Yes, and so that one incident that you mentioned about the school district board member, I actually called that gentleman that spoke the next day because it had to do with bottled water, and there was a report that was sort of misleading that our water quality was poor. And after I talked to him, he understood it. I talked to the CFO of the school district also. Then we put a message out to all the citizens to make sure that they knew that we meet and exceed all the state standards. The only other thing, we're down to the end of the first year of the reduction of production within the adjudication, and so we were fine this year. Next year we'll be fine also, so we have to go down another 16.7%. We're going to get the reports this week, and we're going to find out how much water we used, and then remember, it all depends on what you call it coming out of the well, whether it's carryover, it's return flows, whether it's federal water, whether it's water bank water, or whether it's production right or the reduction of production right. So we're looking good, and we're going to be looking good next year also.
All right. Assistant General Manager update. John?
Yeah, just for you new board members that don't know, we received a grant to replace some of our asbestos pipelines in some of the neighborhoods. And we have our kickoff meeting tomorrow with Kennedy Jenks on the actual construction and design of that job that we're going to be doing. It's going to be Oak, Elm, and Orange off of 20th Street, and off of 15th Street is, help me with the names.
Monte Vista, Franklin, Richland, everything west of 15th, north of Rosemont Boulevard.
Yeah. We received $300,000 for that grant, and Kennedy Jenks has already completed the soils test and the surveying report. And that's all I have.
Thank you, John. Any questions of our Assistant General Manager? Okay, Director of Finance, Brad?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to say I'm looking forward to working with those of you on the Finance Committee, and much like General Counsel offered, be happy to put on a budget or government finance related workshop of any sort that the board would desire to bring you up to speed with the nuances of governmental finances that are different than normal business or accrual accounting or anything that you may or may not be interested in, and how the money flows in and out of here. I know there's already been some discussion about where things are coming from, where they're going, and what projects we're working on. And one of my favorite sayings is nobody cares about the numbers until you put a dollar sign in front of them. So we worry about the numbers, but as soon as we put a dollar sign in front of them, they're important to you and everybody in this community. So as a consultant, I'm here, my staff is here at your service. We're also available via email and through Mr. Smith and any of the other management here. So welcome to the board. Looking forward to working with you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Director of Public Works update.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to provide a brief update on what the Public Works staff has done in the month of December. Normally I would provide this at the end of the month, but with the holidays and being that it's a new board, a few things we've done so far for the month. Public Works staff has delivered 233 non-payment notices. They repaired 6 service line leaks, replaced 1 complete water service line, replaced 2 water angle stop valves, completed the monthly meter reading, removed graffiti at 10 different locations throughout town, and then one of the big things was we had 3 employees complete 40-hour HAZWOPER, hazardous waste operations and emergency response training. So we have 4 employees on site that are 40-hour HAZWOPER trained, and the rest of the Public Works staff are 8-hour HAZWOPER trained.
Great. Okay, Director of Administration Board Secretary update. Was that?
I just wanted to remind everybody that the district office will be closed next week, starting December 24th through January 1st. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll go back into closed session. meeting back to order. On closed session item number 2, there is no reportable action. We are going to continue the general counsel performance evaluation to a future date. And with that, move on to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is made by Director Webb, seconded by Director Stewart for adjournment. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned at 9:17 with a 5-0 vote.